Hi, I'm Michael Etter.
And I'm Davide Ravasi.
And we are part of the author team of the article, The Formation of Organizational Reputation, in the July issue of the Academy of Management Annals 2018. Have you heard of the car company Tesla? You probably have. Would you buy their cars? Would you work for them? And can you imagine Tesla being boycotted? These are all important questions, and they all somehow relate to the concept of organizational reputation. Indeed, a good reputation has shown to lead to a variety of organizational benefits, such as higher employee motivation, the willingness to pay premium prices, or a safeguard against boycotts. In our article, we are less interested in these organizational benefits, but much more in how is organizational reputation formed in the first place. How is it challenged? How is it altered? And how is it lost eventually?
The first perspective that we review is a game theoretic perspective. A game theoretic perspective draws our attention to the fact that when we interact with other counterparts in an exchange, for instance, when we try to buy a product or recruit somebody, we know far less about our counterpart, about qualities and attributes that they have. Economists refer to this condition as asymmetry of information. In these situations, counterparts use costly commitments in order to signal their qualities to their counterparts. For instance, if an entrepreneur takes his company public and keeps a large portion of the shares, we consider that a signal that he believes in the goodness of the company and in the prospects of future profitability. Reputation in this perspective is based on assumptions about the qualities or counterparts based on observations of their past behavior. In the case of Tesla, for instance, the decision to invest in a massive gigafactory for the production of batteries was a signal of the commitment of the company to invest seriously in the production of electric cars.
So as a second perspective, we identify the strategic perspective. This perspective similarly understands actors as sending and receiving signals. However, signals here can be any information cue, such as, for example, hiring consultants or environmental compliance, or the mere membership in a category, such as electronic sports cars. So the strategic perspective highlights how over time and through the consistency of signals, reputation is accumulated as a strategic asset that can be used and leveraged. Thereby, the perspective also highlights the negative effects and negative signals. For example, over the last few years, Tesla has accumulated a strong reputation by consistently signaling signals of strong innovation and leadership. However, recent signals such as the failure to reach production goals and the erratic behavior by Elon Musk have led to a decrease in reputation.
A third perspective we review is a macrocognitive perspective. A macrocognitive perspective draws our attention to the fact that our perceptions of organizations are not influenced only by what they communicate or what they do, but also what other actors communicate about them. Think, for instance, of the massive media coverage that Tesla received in the last few years and then its importance for its public perceptions.
As a fourth perspective, we introduce the microcognitive perspective. This perspective draws on theories of information processing and understands the process of reputation formation as a cognitive process. It thereby highlights various biases, heuristics, cognitive shortcuts that influence the ways we make judgments. For example, just imagine after all the positive news we had about Tesla, the information that someone died using Tesla's autopilot had much more information value than all the positive information about the safety of the car that we already had gotten used to.
A cultural-sociological perspective draws our attention to actors such as journalists, historians, critics, activists, who serve as reputational entrepreneurs. They actively attempt to shape, manipulate, dispute, undermine the reputation of organizations and individuals, often for their personal agenda. In the case of Tesla, for instance, Jeremy Clarkson, the TV host, was accused of giving its roadster car bad reviews to defend the interest of the traditional car makers.
Finally, a sixth perspective that we introduce is the communicative perspective. As the name indicates, here the main driver of the reputation formation process is the process of communication. The perspective uses communication theories such as speech act theory and describes the formation of reputation as an ongoing process that is constituted by communication, conversation, and interactions, in a process in which various actors participate. Applied to Tesla, you might think about all the different actors that constantly communicate and discuss Tesla and use various media, such as social media, to interact, discuss, and evaluate Tesla in a constant process.
After presenting these 6 perspectives, in the second part of the article we discuss how they differ in terms of 3 critical issues: stability versus change, control and contestation, and the relationship between the micro and the macro level. We then propose 3 integrative models that attempt to blend these different perspectives to offer a more comprehensive and fine-grained view of the 3 issues. We show, for instance, how reputations form over time through countervailing forces for stability and change, or how public perceptions are partly influenced by organizational attempts at control and manipulation versus other actors' attempts to dispute and challenge these images. And finally, we show the ways in which micro-level perceptions interact with macro-level representations and vice versa. And if you want more details, please read our article.